Hey, what is up, everybody? It's your boy Nerdicane. I'm definitely going to crank out 2 videos today because it's the second, and Megatron Gaming ships out for basic training for the Air Force tomorrow. So I want to get these last 2 videos done. This one's going to be about tech school. Tech school is sort of like your job training for the Air Force, and some tech schools are really long, some are really short, and then the job I did as a heavy equipment operator, they didn't have a tech school for a long time. So they would just, boom, they would just send people to their base and then you would get integrated. And then, they were having trouble with getting them there, trying to be an operational base and training somebody OJT who had no skills and in a few cases had no driver's license. So we would have people with no driver's licenses as vehicle operators going to an active base. So there's not a whole lot they could do with them. But for my basic training, we went from Lackland Air Force Base to a different side of Lackland Air Force Base. I didn't get to go very far. We actually walked to our tech school, our tech school dorms. This is like, the tech school is like your first taste of actual Air Force life. You're still watched. You're not watched as closely as in basic training. You're starting to get a little more freedom. You're starting to get a little more, into the Air Force. You guys can go wherever you want on the campus and then to the shopette or places you need to go. You have to march. You still have to march in formations. If it's just 4 of you, you make these tiny little 4-person formations and you march. Someone gives the orders and things like that. But this is where you start to really get into your job and figure out your job and learn your job. Oh God, this one came back to haunt me. So we were, this is the hottest part of this is August in San Antonio, Texas, and it's very hot. And we're out there and we're working on these vehicles and we're getting familiar with the tractor trailers and the wreckers and how to hook things up and just to work the stuff. So it's really hot and we're sweaty. We're going out there, we're working, and then when the demo gets done, these dudes would say, our trainers would say, okay, go back to the classroom, read your manual, study for your manual. Well, we'd go back to the classroom, and the air conditioning was cranking. The air conditioning was really cranking. So we were just outside, busting it, and then we would go inside into the air conditioning. Well, you put 2 and 2 together, everybody in the class fell asleep. It was the strangest phenomenon I've ever seen. It's almost like, I almost feel like we were gassed. But we all fell asleep. And this dude comes in, he wasn't our instructor, but he was the instructor above our instructor. Oh God, he came by and he saw this entire class asleep and he came in and just freaked the hell out. And plot twist, this dude later, this is about first impressions. A few years down the road, when I was at my first base, this dude showed up at my first base to be the NCOIC. As it turns out, yeah, that one day I screwed up. I was sleeping and I shouldn't have been. I should have been more aware. But as it turns out, he was a total scumbag. He was an absolute scumbag of an NCO. And in later videos, when I talk about my time at Moody, I'll talk about him. But yeah, that was a bad first impression that came back to haunt me. Because that's one thing about the Air Force. You're going to meet people. You're going to meet people in tech school. You're going to meet people in basic training. And then you're going to, officers are going to see you and you're going to interact with officers and NCOs and things like that. This stuff can come back to haunt you. If you piss somebody off, generally you don't want to try to piss somebody off. But that person could come back around to haunt you later at a different base, on a deployment, things like that. So, always try to be good to people. Generally, 99.9% of the Air Force, everybody's cool to each other. There's that tiny little sliver who are just a-holes. And at my first base, I had about 4 of those people at my first base. So you learn pretty quick. That's one of the things you learn in the Air Force. You learn pretty quick who your dudes are, who your dudes aren't. Yeah, so the next part I want to talk about, this was and it's a neat thing about going from high school to basic training to going to into tech school and then into the Air Force. There's a moment of realization that I was, and I think everybody has this, where they're like, oh, I'm in the real world. This is like freedom. And I'm sure a lot of people when they go to college, they realize that too, and then they get into trouble doing things like that. But I remember distinctly, I was going to get a friend of mine in the women's dorm. So I had to go into the women's dorm. You knock on the door, you say male entering into the bay. That way, if any women are walking around naked in the hallways of the dorms, they know, okay, get covered, get back in your room, things like that. The women don't fucking care about that. They don't listen to it. But anyway, I'm in there. My friend's dating this girl in tech school, which is stupid, which you really shouldn't do. But he's in her room, hanging out with her, probably, showing her various parts of his body. But I'm in there, I'm knocking on the door, and I'm standing there, I'm like, oh, dude, come on, don't get busted in here. Let's get out of here before anybody makes a stink about this. Let's get in, let's get out. And then the door opens, like 3 doors down, and this woman comes out, and this is the moment, like, she came out, she was wearing, I remember today, these panties, these red panties that were like high up on the thigh. It wasn't a G-string, but they were really high up on the thigh. A sports bra, and she had her hair up in a white towel and perfectly tanned. I don't know how the hell she stayed so tan if she just came through basic training. I don't know how the hell you do it. But she came by, and I'm like, I'm a little shy little 19-year-old, and I'm just like, oh God, I shouldn't be here. This is, I'm kind of invading her privacy. And she just walks by me and kind of looks at me and gives me this little smile and just goes on about her day. And that was like the moment where I realized, oh, I'm in like the college type world. I'm no longer like in high school with girls. I'm in the military with women, and these are like women who I could be having sex with at the same time. And that was the moment. It was like and then I proceeded to not get laid for months because it was basic training and you're slick sleeve and But anyway, but yeah, that was the moment. That was like a realization moment when I was like, oh, I'm in the real world now. This is kind of cool. I'm out on my own. And I think, like I said, I think everybody has that in tech school, but. Tech school's mine was only 6 weeks. It was 6 weeks basic, 6 weeks tech school, and then on to my first base at Moody Air Force Base. And I'll kind of get into my first base and the experience of getting to your first base. But tech school, you're going to start getting a little more of your specific training for your job. You're going to get different equipment. What they did to us is, because we were working with heavy equipment, tractor trailers, forklifts, things like that, we had to get steel-toed boots. Some of us, I was pretty excited about steel-toed boots because they're like, oh yeah, steel-toed boots are so much easier to shine. They have that steel toe, they have the steel heel, they hold their shape, and I'm like, cool. So we go to get them, and it's a good, probably 2 mile, 3 mile march over to get these things. And when we get them, our instructor goes, okay, put on your steel toes. We're gonna walk home in your steel toes to kind of break them in. And everybody was like, what now? What are we gonna do now? Because when you get your boots and you get used to your boots, you start putting insoles into them, and you start, they don't rub you and give you blisters like when they're new. So we gotta, nobody can, your insoles no longer fit in these steel toes because they are different on the bottom, and they're steel toe, so they're a lot more solid. Man, we walked back, everybody had blisters. It was like. The next day, it was like everybody was 90 years old just limping around. But enjoy it. Tech school is kind of fun. Tech school is kind of like college for the Air Force, although it's all not that serious. But do make some connections. Get to know people, keep in touch with people. Do not date anybody. Do not buy any shit from troops that are leaving, because they got to basic training and suddenly they had freedom and they had some money and they're like, oh, I'm gonna buy a stereo system for my dorm room, and it turns out, oh, you can't take that with you, so you have to sell it to some sucker who comes in. And generally it just gets to the point where they can't sell it and they're just like, fuck it, leave it. I can't deal with it. I can't take it or do anything with it. But don't buy anything. I'll say this now and I'll say this again. Your first year in the Air Force, do not get an AAFES card. Do not buy a new car. Do not stop working out. Do not stop working out. Do not stop running. Keep that physical fitness regimen that you've picked up from basic training. Keep that rolling as you go into your base, because it'll help you. You're going to set like a physical standard, a physical baseline for yourself for the rest of your life. And that's kind of what I did. I got out of running a little too early, but the things I did in the gym, the time I spent in the gym, have paid off for me now that I'm like in my 40s, in my early 40s, because I'm still in really good shape. Things are, I don't have the aches and pains that a lot of dudes have. The only thing I left the Air Force with was, partial deafness. But yeah, keep that stuff going. Keep getting in shape. Get some abs. Get yourself a 6-pack. Don't start drinking. You can't drink in basic training, but when you get to your first base, don't start drinking, because that's just a road to stupid. It's a road to bad things happening. But that's all I got for this one. Enjoy basic training. I think Megatron Gaming said he was going for Loadmaster, which is an excellent job. If you want to see the world and you want to get out and you want to get really cool skills, really good skills that you can transition to the civilian world with, that's a good job. But anyway, that's all I got for this one. I got to do a little bit of editing. I will have one more out today about my experience getting to my first base. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. You guys go have a good day. Wish Megatron Gaming luck, because he's going to have a good time over at basic training. Not for the first 2 weeks, though, but he will eventually. Thanks for listening. Bye.